Hey guys, it's Nemo and welcome to another analysis video, I guess you could say, or review, teaser release, whatever you want to call it, of World of Warships. And I think today we've got a fair bit to talk about. This here in front of me looks like the Alsace, but I think it's actually the new premium French battleship, the Jean Bart, or for all of you who don't like saying it in French, the Jean Bart, but that's wrong. And I have a clanmate who's actually French on my team, and I can tell you what, I bet you if he heard anyone saying Jean Bart, he'd be quite disappointed. Anyway, the Jean Bart, hopefully I'm saying it right too, otherwise he'll get cranky at me too. Anyway, was going to be tier 8 premium, he's going to now be a tier 9 premium, as you can see just here, and the Sigma now has gone from 1.8 to 2.0, which is pretty good. 2.0, the higher the Sigma, the more accurate the ship is. 20-second reload on the main battery, that's not too bad. It looks like it's got 1, 2, 3 main batteries, 3 turrets, main battery guns, which is pretty good. That's pretty good. It's just like the Alsace. Now the Alsace is going to be getting a nerf, which I think is silly. Increase the reload time of the main battery from 30 to 32 seconds and drop the Sigma from 1.7 to 1.6. It says here that the ship has a rather high average damage rating while being on the same tier for the other tier 9 battleships. Well, of course it does. Everybody loves the Alsace. Whoever plays battleships, the French battleships especially, likes that ship. Not only that, the grind from tier 9 to tier 10 is so long. What is it? Something like 230 to 240,000 XP, depending on what class and what ship you're playing. Now for me, my tier 9s have been the Grosse, not the Grosse Kurfürst, the Friedrich the Grosse, German tier 9 battleship, the Neptune, the Fletcher, the Changmu, and the Baltimore when it was at tier 9. The Fletcher, the Changmu, and the Neptune have all been top ships to play. The Baltimore was a little bit tough, but it taught you how to play the Des Moines, which I thought was really good. So I stuck that out. But the Friedrich the Grosse, that was just, I sold it after about 20 battles. It was rubbish. It sucked. After the Bismarck, it was a downgrade. And I haven't actually gotten to the Grosse Kurfürst because I'm not picking up that ship, that tier 9 German battleship again. You know, if I want the Grosse Kurfürst, I will free XP through tier 9 because it was just pathetic, and I can't say any more about it. It just wasn't very good, and it was a hard ship to play. It wasn't something very nice that you wanted to play over and over again. Same with the Izumo. Anyone who's got the Yamato will know that the Izumo was just a struggle. It's just a battleship that doesn't fit in the Japanese line, the Imperial line, especially after you go from the Amagi, which is a top ship, to the Izumo. And then you've got to go through 230 odd thousand XP to get the Yamato. Now the thing that is hard about the grind is that this is a free-to-play game. World of Warships is a free-to-play game. And if you don't have a premium account and you don't have premium consumables or camouflages and things like that, you only get stock experience. Now, with stock experience and no flags and no enhancing camouflages, 230 to 240,000 XP is such a grind. It's enough to turn anybody off, and that's why the Alsace, the Fletcher, the Changmu, the Neptune, those ships are all played so much because they're good They feel good to play. You don't mind grinding through. So, of course, it is going to have a rather high average damage rating while being on the same tier. Not only that, it has 3 times 4 batteries. So it's got 12 guns to the Friedrich de Grosses 10, the Izumos 9. What do they expect? What do they expect? A ship with more guns. It's like the Leon at tier 7 with 16 guns. That's going to do damage no matter what it fires at, because at least 4 shells are going to hit. So I think that's a silly nerf. I think it's a silly nerf. I don't think that the statistics that they use about people playing the ship and the caliber of the gun, that the amount of guns it has, I don't think that's a good thing at all for that ship. The French cruiser Emile Bertin, great ship. I love it. Tier 5, best. I think it's actually the best tier 5 ship. I love that ship. Getting a nerf as well, 12 seconds to 13 seconds on the reload of the main battery. Maybe not too much, but when you face tier 7s, that can be a long time. And the Henri, the French cruiser Henri, which is the tier 10 cruiser, is getting a main gun reload booster consumable. And what it will do is it will last for 15 seconds and allows you to fire essentially at the same rate of the Des Moines for 15 seconds. So you're only really going to get 3 volleys in. Now, I don't think it'd be something I'd be using. Not if it's got a cooldown of it's got a cooldown of 80 seconds. Main gun reload booster. So 80 would be premium because it's a consumable. It could be viable. Could be viable. Anyway, off the French ships. Let's go. Yes, the Royal Navy destroyers. Hey, well, we'll get to them in a minute. This one's about the cruisers. Emerald, Leander, and then destroyers Jervis and Icarus are getting their torpedoes going to 7 kilometers. So that's the Mark 8s. The upgraded torpedoes on the Leander go out to 8 kilometers anyway, so I'm not too worried about that. More balance to Soviet ships. So the Chapayev cruiser is now going to be getting the radar consumable on its A hull. So that's an upgrade there. That's not really anything else but an upgrade for that. It's when we talk about balance, we don't really put in Russian ships, do we? Soviet destroyers Gnevny and Minsk. So that's the tier 6 and tier 7. The increased speed, the rotation of the main battery from 6 degrees per second to 9.7. That is good. So is the Podvoisky at tier 5. Why? Because if you've ever played any of those ships, the turret traverse is horrible. Absolutely horrible. Podvoisky, for example, tier 5 Russian destroyer. That's where I am at the moment in my Russian destroyer line. And it has a 6.8 detection with a 10-point captain and camouflage. Every other destroyer at its tier can see you from the moon, and then your guns turn ridiculously slow. So I think that's a good thing. You know, everyone always bags out Russian ships for not being balanced, but I think that needed to be done. That's just a horrible ship. They're horrible ships to play. Horrible. What else have we got? The Tashkent. So tier 9 Soviet destroyer is going to be able to have a research main battery module that has the same guns as the Khabarovs. So this is to try and help you get used to firing the Khabarovs guns. Battleships, Imperial Japanese Navy. Now the Izumo, the armor is being increased, the upper deck plating, so 32 to 57 millimeters, so it's going to be able to tank a whole lot more. That'll stop a lot of high explosive, which is something good for Izumo captains, because we all know it's a horrible ship. I haven't even gotten near it, but you read blogs, you ask players who've played it, you watch other YouTubers, and everybody hates the user mode. So that's a good thing for the user mode. Make it a bit more tanky, maybe a little bit more comfortable to play. The Yamato is getting a speed rotation of its main battery guns from 2.5 degrees a second to 3 degrees per second, which is a lot better. A lot of people said that the Yamato's slow turret traverse actually let the ship down and it was difficult to play. I think having 18-inch guns where you can overmatch anyone's armor and destroy anything from anywhere, yeah, if you're having a whinge about that sort of thing, then you're not playing your ship properly. The Ashitaka, so the AP shells, the velocity's been increased a little bit, so 806 meters a second instead of 790. A little bit of an increase in the damage. Okay, what else have we got? Ah, yes, the German battleship Nassau. Reload time from 22 to 26 seconds to the main battery guns, and the same reason. The ship showed high efficiency at her tier, and the corrections should lead to balance with other ships at her tier. Well, that's because everyone likes like when we grew up reading about stories of the Bismarck and the Battle of the Denmark Strait and things like that. Everybody wants to play. As soon as you jump into the game, you want to play German battleships. Why? Because you want the Bismarck. It's the same thing with the Japanese line. You want the Yamato. It's the same thing with the American line. You wanted the Missouri. Because these were the ships, these were the great battleships we grew up reading about. I even have models of the King George V, the ship that had the Admiral on it that chased down, Admiral Tovey chased down the Bismarck. So you want to play. The Nassau is the first German battleship. Everyone wants to play the Nassau, of course, because it's going to lead to the Bismarck. So of course it's going to have a higher efficiency rating, because everyone wants to start there. So, I don't think nerfing the ship is going to be helpful. People are still going to play it. You're still going to have a high efficiency. If people still play this ship with 26 second reload and 3 repair parties instead of 4 or 2 to 3 or whatever it is, people are still going to play it because they want to play the ship. So the damage numbers are still going to be high because you're still going to have more Nassau's in the game than any other tier 3 battleship. So the logic for nerfing all these ships that are played a lot doesn't make any sense. I mean, I can totally understand a nerf on the Yamato's guns, for example, because you don't have to have any skill, you just load AP and you click and you fire. Okay, so a nerf there on a ship that makes things so easy, yes, but nerfing ships because people are playing them more than others, that's not going to help. That's not going to help. That's just silly. Anyway, moving on. So, a new ship coming in. It's a tier 9. I'd say it's going to be a tier 9 premium. The American cruiser Alaska. Now, I'm going to go through a couple of things. Just a bit of a rundown of the Alaska for those who don't know actually what the Alaska is or was. A lot of the NA, so North American fanboys and US Navy fanboys have been waiting for this ship to come into the game. To be honest, I didn't even know what it was. Never even heard of it. And I did some research, and she's actually a real ship. And here's some information. The USS Alaska and the Guam, they were sister ships. The USS Alaska's pennant number was CB1, meaning battle cruiser. She had 9 times 12 inch guns, so in 3 turrets, so 300mm guns. She did 33 knots. She was laid down in 1941, commissioned in 44, mid-June, decommissioned in 47 and scrapped in 1960. So that's why I'd never actually heard of this ship. Now this battle cruiser and her sister ship were created, didn't actually get out until after D-Day in 1944, and then only participated in Iwo Jima and Okinawa as anti-aircraft and shore battery. In 1958, it was decided that it was too costly to convert the ship to a guided missile cruiser, so she was sold off and scrapped in 1960. So this ship that all these US Navy, American fanboys, as I said, love, never even heard of it. Never even heard of it. If any of you guys have heard of it, let me know. Maybe I've just been living under a rock, but I've done a lot of naval research over my time. You know, I love the books of Dr. Robert Ballard and things like that. So, especially when he found the Bismarck and the lost ships of Guadalcanal around the bottom of Savo Island and all that, and Iron Bottom Sound. So, anyway, in the game, what does the Alaska do? The Alaska's going to be Tier 9. She's going to have a main battery of 305mm guns, so they're going to be a little bit bigger than 12-inch. Firing range of 20 kilometers. This is a battle cruiser that fires as far as a battleship. HE shell damage is going to be 4,300. That's per shell. Chance to cause fires 27%. That makes sense. She has high, big caliber guns. Her guns are bigger than the Scharnhorst. Maximum AP shell damage is 8,900. Now I think at 12 inches that's a little bit low. Reload time of 20 seconds, so she's got the same reload time roughly as the Scharnhorst. At Tier 7, 180 degree turn time, 36 seconds, so her guns turn relatively quick for how big they are. Maximum dispersion 216 meters. The velocity for high explosives is 808 meters per second, and the AP velocity is 762. Sigma value 2.0. So sigma value it's the vertical dispersion on the ships and how tight the shot stays together. The salvo. Now, at 808 meters per second with high explosive and 762 for armor piercing, you are going to have to adjust your shots for whatever type of ammunition you fire, so make sure you keep an eye on that. I would say that being a Tier 9 cruiser, she's going to be premium. She'll probably be a free XP ship like the Kronstadt Tier 9. It's a free XP ship. The Missouri and the Musashi were Tier 9, or Musashi is Tier 9, and they have free XP, so I'd say that's what it will be. She's got pretty good AA defense, 91 per second out to 5 kilometers range, so that can be buffed to likely 7.2. Maximum speed 33 knots, which is true to life. Turning circle radius of 850 meters. Rudder shift time of 13.8. Surface detectability of 16.2. So you can get her down relatively well. She'll probably be a little bit more than the Des Moines, which sits at 10.6. And that maybe not. It makes sense that a battle cruiser would be spotted earlier than a heavy cruiser. So she's going to have the choice of defensive AA or hydroacoustic, and spotting aircraft, catapult fighter, or surveillance radar. So it's going to have all three of those that you can choose from. And obviously a damage control party and a repair party, so a heal. Now these are all stats listed without crew and upgrade modifiers, so as I said, you can probably get it down a lot lower. I can just imagine though that this ship will be played the same as the American Cruiser Line. It'll be a island hugging ship where you sit behind the islands and fire things that can't be seen. But when you look at her, you look at this ship in this picture here, you just think of this big open water battle cruiser not hiding behind islands. just destroying anything it comes across. And with 12-inch guns, I think it'll do a lot of damage to cruisers for sure. So there's a little bit of history and information on the Alaska, which I never even heard of, but there we go. She's a real ship, unlike the Stalingrad. Anyway, moving on. We've gone too far. Okay, well, what I did want to talk about is, and I can't actually see it in the blog here, is that Royal Navy destroyers are going to be nerfed before they even get onto the board. They are losing their speed boost consumable, so you don't have a choice between speed boost and hydro now. You only have the hydro. And it's an effort by Wargaming to make the Royal Navy destroyers a defensive destroyer. The thing is, though, is that you're a defensive destroyer, a destroyer hunting ship that can only do around 35 knots. So you're now, I'm talking about the top ship, I'm talking about the Daring, the tier 10 ship. How do you hunt down a Khabarovsk at 45 knots? How do you hunt down a Shimakaze at 40, 41 knots? Even the gearing can outrun you by at least a knot and a half. So the idea now is that you stay near the cap and you wait for them to come to you, and then you open fire on them. Okay. I guess we can do that. Defeats the purpose of hunting, doesn't it? The other thing is, God forbid you get stuck in radar without a engine boost consumable, because that will just be the end of it. Anyone. Yeah, I don't know about some of the decisions that go into planning these ships, but I can tell you what, I would play with the speed boost if I was to have those ships, if it was available. I use the speed boost for other things such as capping, dodging torpedoes while I'm in the cap, making sure that my ship reacts faster, because when you activate the speed boost while you're capping, your ship reacts faster, backwards and forwards, side to side, well, not side to side, but turning the rudder. So taking that option away is trying to force people to play one way. The thing is, though, is that every player plays every ship different to the next player. Case in point, I use the speed boost. You watch Flambass, another YouTuber and Twitch streamer, he doesn't use the speed boost on the gearing. We're talking about the gearing? Yep. He uses the AA consumable. I don't find it I find it unnecessary, as there's hardly any hardly any aircraft carriers in the game these days. So I use the speed boost. Not only do I use the speed boost because it's more, I find it better than the AA. As I said, it helps you to dodge in capping and things like escaping radar if you need to escape radar, or if you're like me and you like to juke radar, so you go forward at full speed and then you stop and you reverse, so you're trying to throw off the enemy's aim. Speed boost helps with that. And trying to, as I said about pigeonholing people into the same style of play, you just have a look at a couple of myself and some of my clanmates even. So I'll take one of my other clanmates for example. He plays the gearing as well as I do. The ship might be the same, but we play that ship totally differently. Two different styles with the same ship. So trying to pigeonhole people into one play style isn't going to work, because players play differently, and that's why players need options. I mean, here on the Alaska, for example, you're going to be putting a spotting aircraft, catapult fighter, and a surveillance radar. So you're giving people three options of what they want to use on the ship. You need to do that with all the ships. Give them a couple of options, because no one is going to play the ship exactly the way you want the ship played, because no one is exactly the same. Anyway guys, those are some of my thoughts on this development blog that's come out recently in the last number of days. I hope you find any of it useful. If not, well, it's just something to know. Good stuff to know, I think. I think it's good to know when new ships are coming in so you can be prepared for them. Thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you next time.